Again, budget work session, and we'll dispense with some formalities and just go straight into our discussions.
And we have a schedule today. Dana from the library is going to be the first presenter, but just kind of reminding everybody, at this point in the budget, we're doing high-level conceptual to make sure that we're on course. And if you feel like we're not and we need to do a course correction, this is the time to let us know. I don't like that project. I don't like what you're proposing. We got that last night with the water rate. So when we come back in August with a real thick budget with all the fine details, we'll take this information and, modify the budget accordingly. So, Dana, where is Dana? Dana's over there with the library. We're still in the general fund, and that's how we'll end the day, is in the general fund.
Thank you. Before I get started on my budget presentation this afternoon, Council, I wanted to show you a couple of commercials that were created by Josh Garrett and also by my communications manager, Jessica Berger. And the first one I want to show you is a commercial about our teen summer reading program. And they're about 30 seconds each. And then I'm going to show you after that the one for our children's summer reading program. So that's a much more serious level commercial, kind of appealing to that dystopian teen reading interest right now that they're into. That's very, very popular. And the next one is going to be our children's commercial. That commercial was starring Joel Novosad of the CVB, if you didn't recognize him. And I wanted to invite all of you to our kickoff program. That is Monday, this next Monday, at the Community Center starting at 1 p.m. Or you're also certainly welcome to attend any of our summer reading programs or just to drop by and see how busy we are. In fact, the busyness already started yesterday afternoon as soon as I think school got out, last day of school, and we were hit hard. Summer is a time of year which my staff really puts in a lot of thought and effort and our time. It's our busiest time of year, and we're ready to go. Looking forward to it. Now I would like to move on into my budget presentation. The Victoria Public Library, our mission is to support and nurture readers of all ages, accessing information, satisfying curiosity, and celebrating the diverse heritage and cultures of our community. Victoria Public Library is where your journey begins. The library is involved in providing many services that support this mission. And this afternoon, I really want to focus on our three main programs. So I'll be going through those. The first major program of the library is to maintain and develop a collection of over 140,000 books, DVDs, music, CDs, electronic books, and databases. And this is a constant process that we're working through. We're always adding new items, removing outdated information, and staying aware of what the needs of our community are and the changes in the formats that is needed by our community. And that's why we've moved into also the electronic book format. Over the past 5 years, I show some statistics here from 2009 to 2013. On average, we've checked out approximately 336,000 items a year. We've seen a 12.8% increase in circulation at the library from 2009 to 2013. Our second major program of the library is our focus on providing access and training in the use of computers and technology. We teach approximately 100 computer classes annually at both the library and at the Workforce Development Center. We have 36 in-house desktop computers that can be used for the public, and we also offer free Wi-Fi. In addition, this last year and a half, we have started checking out laptops. We have 15 laptops that we check out to the public and they can use in the library, and just started in the last month checking out iPads for in-house use at the library. Our strongest partnership in this program is with the Workforce Development Center in helping people who are unemployed or looking for work develop basic computer skills. And we've also recently begun providing classes to assist people in applying for those jobs online, because we saw a lot of need and a lot of questions were asked in the building. How do I apply online? How do I get to this site so that I can apply online? Our third major program is, of course, library programming. And we do that for users of all ages, but a majority of our focus is with children from birth through grade school. We offer 7 story times weekly to a variety of ages of children, helping them develop basic literacy skills and getting them prepared to be ready to read by kindergarten. We also offer programs for teens, such as the iPad iMovie project and the Teen Lock-In, which were very popular this last spring break. And then just general programs for adults and our technology programs. In the last year alone, our staff planned and presented over 600 programs and classes, with about 15,000 people coming into our Bronte meeting room in the library to attend those programs, and we had an additional about 2,000 people that we served off-site. In addition to the programs that the library plans, we had 90 groups, outside groups, use our Bronte room during 2013. Another major part of our programming is developing partnerships in the community and supporting other community-wide events that tie in with our mission. Some of our partners this last year included Workforce Development Center, Head Start, some private daycares, VISD, Region 3, the Dia de los Muertos Festival, Livestock Show, and the Texas Zoo. This slide represents the personnel for the library. We have on staff 27 full-time employees and 5 part-time employees to support all of our library programs and services and to keep our building open and running 61 hours per week. These employees are divided into 5 different departments, actually 6 if you count administration. So I've color-coded the little people infographic to give you an idea of how many in each department. We have administration, which is myself, my assistant director, and our assistant. Our public services is the next group in the orange color, and that staff staffs the information desk, develops and presents programs for all ages, manages all of our interlibrary loan services, which is the method which we request materials from other libraries and send our materials to other libraries in exchange as well. They help with purchasing new materials and updating older items. Then we have our training services department, which teaches all of our computer classes, provides in-house training of our current and new employees, and is the lead in developing new technology programs for the library. Our access services, which is the blue, that group staffs our circulation desk. They check in and out all library materials, they reshelve all returned materials, they pick up all materials at our off-site book drops, they issue library cards, and they track all fine and fee issues. Following them is the communications services department. They develop all advertising and marketing of the library, they design and maintain our website, they maintain our Facebook page, and they design all of our print materials. And then the last group is our technical services department. They order all of our library materials. They process them, they catalog them, they get them ready for the public to use and out on the floor. Of these 30 bodies represented on this slide, 22 of those people spend a majority of their workday helping and serving the public. So our staff is very customer service focused and public facing, and without them we would not be able to support those 3 major programs I just discussed. Now moving on to our proposed budget for fiscal year 2014-2015. We are requesting a total budget of $2.2 million, and I've broken that down broadly into some major areas. 41% of this budget for payroll, 17% for benefits, 17% for library materials, 9% for internet and IT support. Our budget directly supports our main priorities, including the public service provided by our people for programs, the procurement of library materials, and providing access to computers and technology. Now, I've broken down that budget into more detail. I have a couple of tables for you. This first table is a breakdown of our budget and shows the reallocation of the internet IT fees that occurred for fiscal year 2014-2015. We saw a major increase in that, and that is in that yellow highlighted section. So that fee went from $23,590 to $194,449. It's 9% of our budget. That's the biggest increase we're seeing. We have a small increase in our library materials budget request, an increase in utilities, an increase in supplies, a major decrease in capital, and a decrease in maintenance. Now, the next slide is almost the same information, except that I just wanted to show you that if that internet IT fee stayed flat, we would basically be at a deficit. We'd be $25,000 less on our budget request for this year versus last year. Now, I wanted to give you an overview of the major things that we're requesting in fiscal year 2014-2015. Replacement of an HVAC unit at $17,000. We're requesting an increase in ebook subscriptions to meet a demand of a 26% increase in the use of ebooks during 2013. That's $9,000. Asking for a projector replacement and audio updates in our meeting room. We're currently using a backup projector in that room and wanted to do some updates to the technology. Technology has improved and changed since the last time that system was updated. Probably it was before I started at the library, so before 2007. So with new technology, it's very hard for the new laptops and new tablets to communicate well with that older projector. And then $5,000 for a server room remodel. You might remember that we have moved a lot of our servers to the cloud and moved them to also off-site, out of the library building. So we do not need that large server room anymore. We would like to make a much smaller room for the one existing small server in there and use that existing space or remaining space for maybe a small meeting room or extra storage or an extra office. Also requesting 2 children's early literacy educational workstations for $5,000. And then I did list out what the IT cost increase was for the library. Looking forward, we are still working through our 5-year strategic plan. We are currently in year 3 of our plan. We met with our library advisory board in March and in April, had 2 longer meetings to really go through the strategic plan and the last 2 years, where we saw things that we were doing well, where we saw things that we needed to change or improve upon, or things that we needed to stop doing. It was a very, very good conversation with that board. They have provided us some direction, and I am developing recommendations which are going to lead us past 2016, hopefully, another year or 2 past that. The library, or the board, did express a desire for the library to continue to do community outreach and develop a new method of further promoting our ebook collections and technology classes. And that is it. Can I answer any questions?
What are your hours again over there? And didn't we cut back on hours a while back?
It's been several years back, we cut some hours and then we moved around some hours a little bit. So We are open from 9 a.m. until 8 p.m., Monday through Thursday. We used to be open 9 until 9 several years ago. And we are open in 9 till 5:30 on Friday. We used to close at 5. We extended that till 5:30. We're open 9 to 5 on Saturday and closed on Sunday.
Thank you.
Got some questions. What makes up the capital number of 60,440?
Okay. Are you talking on the table?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sure that air
60,000.
conditioner, 17,000 of it, that still leaves the 43,440.
Right. Okay, let me grab that detail here. Just one second. Okay. We had the server room remodel at $5,000. We had the HVAC, as you said, at $17,000. We had some computer replacements. A request at about $14,000 for computer replacements. Replacement switches for our public computers at $10,000. That projector replacement is at $6,500. We're requesting the early literacy stations at $5,000. And we do have a small printer. We're requesting a replacement for $680. Does that about equal it out?
Pretty close.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. Anything else?
Just have a quick question, not really related to this, but the county owns the building, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And the rent is that a trade or we're not trading?
We don't pay. No, we don't.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
their contribution
Well,
Yeah.
to the library.
Well, it's.
actually, I'm sorry.
Well, it goes back to those contracts we had years ago where it was, we would even up at the end, and we've done away with those. So we take care of the library, the county does the health department. So,
Okay. Just thought I'd throw it out there.
yeah, so, yeah, we don't seek reimbursement on the library, and they don't seek reimbursement on the health department or animal control.
All right.
Thank you, Dane.
All right, thank you.
The next department is Parks. Then after that, we'll do Fire. I'm queuing them up. I don't know if they knew who was going next. It's Fire after Kobe. Kobe has been with us less than a year. You started late July, early August?
August 1st.
August 1st,
August
okay.
1st. Mayor, council member, thank you. The Parks budget has gone through a dramatic changes in our organizational structure, some of the things that we do. I'm going to briefly highlight some of those, and then we'll get into our actual budget. Our mission is to improve the quality of life for Victoria citizens by providing a comprehensive system of parks, recreation, and cultural programs that encourage health, fitness, relaxation, and culture enrichment, as well as providing opportunities for conservation, education, and community involvement. Some of our changes that happened, we recently had a retirement, and so we did some restructuring. We promoted Danielle Williams to Assistant Director, Monty Webb to a Park Superintendent, and then those different branches go off there. Later in the Community Center budget, you'll see where we did some different changes in our cost allocation as far as previously the Recreation Manager or Assistant Director of Recreation was tied into the community center's budget. That has changed now. The community center manager reports directly to me, and so that we've made some changes in where our salary allocation goes to those different budgets, and I'll go through there and show you to those later. Our proposed budget is with 46 employees. That's down 2 employees from last year. And so we've made some changes, and through attrition, we feel like we're perfectly fine at 46 employees. And they're divided into those 6 fields there. There's also, if you notice, there is no longer going to be a PAR 6 Par 5 is going to be all athletic fields, and so that includes the adult complex and the youth complex. We've also moved Riverside Stadium and those employees and the costs allocated to Riverside Stadium into one budget, which will be Par 5, now athletic fields. And that way I can keep track of what's going out to my athletic fields instead of from 3 different budgets.
Are all your positions staffed? They're not, are they?
As of today, I've got 2 people that I've got to hire. We have 16 parks totaling 846 acres. There's 6 divisions. Through those divisions in recreation, we do athletic and recreation programming, event consultations, tournament acquisition. That's going to be a big one in these next few years that you'll see coming up is us running tournaments out of that department. The Parks Department is in charge of maintaining facilities and equipment, mowing and landscaping of the grounds, and mosquito spraying. The right-of-way division is curb and gutter, city right-of-way mowing, and flood buyout mowing. And then the athletic field, which I just described, we take care of all our athletic fields, facility maintenance, and then chemical application. And, of course, our community center does facility maintenance, event scheduling, and preparation. I wanted to show, I broke down the 2 budgets into M&O, capital, and then personnel, just showing you the percentages of the proposed budget. We're about the same on each one of them, just within a few percentage points on each one of those line items. And feel free to stop me at any point if you have any questions. Okay, in the park side, the payroll and benefits, you can see the comparisons of 2014 to 2015. There's plus $31,000, and that's directly tied to the performance bonuses or performance raises that are being proposed, and having our assistant director coming underneath parks instead of out of the community center.
Quick question, on the pay for performance, what's the percentage everyone's using, or is it all different?
We're using an average of 3%.
3%?
3%,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Our maintenance operation is going down $363,000. Our capital is going up $400,000, and our total across the board is going up $69,000. And I'm going to get into some of those numbers as far as why they're going up in the next few slides. For payroll and benefit, it's our department reorganization. Like I said, we transferred the recreation manager to Par 1 from the community center. Maintenance operation, if you remember last year, we bought a lot of equipment out of the parks budget. That equipment has been purchased, and so that's not being asked for in this budget. The capital is going up because of the proposed improvements to Riverside Park. On the community center side, our payroll and benefits is going down, which ties into the recreation manager going over to the park side. Our maintenance operations is going up, and our capital is going down. We have a remodel that's in progress right now that's not being asked for in this budget. And so that budget is going to be down $700,000 overall. And that explains what I just kind of said on the reorganization in payroll, individual line items moving up in M&O, and then the capital with the remodel. Some of the things that I focused on in this budget, is building this budget, really felt like our employee training was very weak in this department, and so that is, you'll see this as I go through each one of these budgets. That is a highlighted focus that I'm really focused on, is employee training, getting some of those employees into classes, into different types for Texas, Recreation and Park Society, herbicide classes, different things of that nature that we're sending our employees to. Turf management.
That's a big one.
Yeah, that's a big one. That we've got a big investment out there at the youth sports complex, and we want to get those guys trained in what applications to use and when to use them, so that we know what's being recommended is correct for those. So in the parks employee training course, the budget also focuses on Riverside Park. It has a proposed for Grover's Bend parking lot, expansion of the trail system, the GOAT program, and then a lot of maintenance on river access. It also deals with the departmental structure, which is the moving of different people to fit that organizational chart. And then we have in there a Riverside Convention Center conceptual plan. So the last year, we had money available to have an engineering study to see what could be done with that facility. It did come back that we felt like we could do an open-air pavilion, and so this year, we will go after to get designs done for that concept.
Talk about the trail system a little bit, your vision on that.
The trail system, right now, we do not have a full loop. Once you get to the Rose Garden coming north, it stops, and you have to get back on the road. And so what I'm wanting to do is go from the north end of the park and come south all the way to where just past the Horseman's Arena, and widen that trail to match the nature trail, which you would enter there at the Horseman's, just north of the Horseman's Arena. Any questions on that? In the recreation side, we're once again going on employee training. We have focused our efforts for this next year on family-oriented programming, whether that be movies in the park, kayak events, things to that nature. So we're really focusing on family-oriented recreation programming. We also will be heavily focused on our sports tournament programming, and of course river activities as well.
Well, how is the GOAT program coming along?
I think it's going along well. I mean, it's a slow process. It's we've got 25 goats or so out there. It's not going to be a process that's going to be done. It's a sustained 2 to 3, 4 year program that's going to to make a difference in it. But it's helping us knock out that initial, get it where we can see it, and then we come back with our mowers and we're able to mow on behind them.
And my only thought was that maybe we ought to have our own goats and operate it.
I think you would have the issue that you would have is that one person, say that they were a regular start off employee plus benefits and stuff, would run us about that same amount for what the contract we are paying. It wouldn't see a very big difference.
It's not so much the goats, it's how you run them.
Yeah, because I'm just concerned at one point, if that contract starts exceeding your argument, then maybe we need to.
I think it's something that
reevaluate
you keep an eye on. I think if that contract ever exceeds what it would take for me to bring in 4 or 5 employees to sustain a program, I agree with you. At this point, we're not there. The right-of-way, again, employee training, increasing our productivity, and then back to our departmental structure. Same thing with the athletic fields. We're really working that this budget does not increase our service levels. This budget maintains our current service levels, and that's what I want to make sure that everyone's aware of, that we have seen an improvement, but this is maintaining what we have. This is not adding to. So we may be looking, when we have tournaments, that getting those as they come on board, needing to help fund those in a later budgets coming down the road. What I see as challenges, we have a lot of deferred maintenance. If you look at Reed Park here, we have a handball court that needs to be taken down. We have a lot of playgrounds that are with gravel that need to be replaced. We have some trail systems that are especially on this park, that are granite gravel that need that maintenance, and so we're moving that down the line. With this budget, this is a purely maintain what we currently have as far as that operation. Riverside Park, this budget does have a lot of things for Riverside Park, but I want to stress that this way of funding Riverside Park is not sustainable. If we continue to want to do projects out of the general fund for Riverside, we're going to neglect other areas of the city. And then we have a lot of deteriorating facilities like you see here.
Do you see any Texas Parks and Wildlife grants out there on the horizon?
Parks and Wildlife has really come down. They've had a lot of funding decreases. Their outdoor recreation grant is not. It's I believe, and please don't quote me on this, I believe it's only $100,000 now. It may be up to $300,000, but it's not the $500,000 that you would see like we did for the splash pad area any longer. With going out those grants, with Parks and Wildlife, it's going to have to be, we're adding a new park. It's going to be something that we're adding land. I don't know that you would see one just a revitalized, Riverside Park or anything to that nature, unless you were adding more parkland to that facility. So, I mean, we're continuing to look at them, but I don't see anything right now. There is some that would be available for the boat ramp, boating access that we are looking at for that side of it. But other major parks, I don't see anything unless we were looking at building a new
It's
facility.
always new stuff. It's never,
Not necessarily just new stuff, it's adding land, and that's what Parks and Wildlife is really wanting to see is, are you adding acreage to your park system?
and the cost to go with it, right?
There's a cost that goes with
Yeah,
it.
it's never about what we need, it's about what they want us to do.
Sure,
And
sure.
the last, we finally got one time, and it was that sidewalk along Vine that comes behind on up, and so many people came up to me and said, why did y'all build a sidewalk? There's no one over there. Well, the Parks and Wildlife grant required it to be connected to the existing sidewalks. So in order to satisfy the grant, we had to, now that's probably not what this city would have done, and that was, I guess, 6 years ago? People do use it somewhat, but anyway, it's frustrating.
Now, one of the things we do try to do is for parks that qualify for CDBG funding, we will use CDBG funding to help, replace the playground stuff. So-
And that's one area that's been able to help us out a lot is the city has a very good plan on replacing playground equipment. It's an every year occurrence that we are replacing, one or two pieces at a time. And so that's a very good plan.
Colby, that Grover's Bend parking lot,
Yes, sir.
that's the one that's closed right now.
Yes, sir.
Grover's. So the parking lot down towards the end by that pavilion, or?
What we're looking at is where you go in and it makes a circle, is where it makes a circle is having a parking lot in that area, that grassy area right there.
Okay. That goes along with just opening the whole bend back up?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And you plan to do that in this budget year?
If it's approved, yes, sir.
Excellent. The beach, that's the access to our beach.
Yes,
That
yes.
the goats may
It's
clear
it's
that.
nice.
All right.
Moving forward, one of the things that we're looking at is Danielle has created a very nice recreation programming tracking. So we're able to now, when we run a softball tournament or we run a market days or any event that the recreation department runs, we track what our attendance was, what the cost to us was, how many participants, if there was fees. And so in next year's budget, you will see us being able to evaluate each one of our programs and to determine what is do we need to continue with that program? Do we need to make changes? And so that's one of the big focuses that we will be doing in this next year. And hopefully in next year's budget, you'll be able to see the results of that. Our mowing cycle, that has been decreased from 17 days now down to 10 days. And that's a direct occurrence of buying that equipment and with the work that Monty has done with the crews. And so combining those guys, we're down from 17 to 10.
It really shows. Congratulations, that's really well done.
Yes, absolutely.
We are also implementing a work order tracking system to be able to track our maintenance side. That was something that wasn't in place, and we're doing that to gather data so that next year that I can give you the data of why I'm asking for another employee or whatnot, what their workload is, where we can reallocate people, and so that will be showing up in this next year's program as well. And then, of course, we've started this. We've made some adjustments this one time, but we're really trying to get to a scheduled time period, whether we mosquito spraying or right-of-way mowing, that we can tell the public this is when we're going to be out. And that really goes in effect to the right-of-way mowing. If we're mowing on the loop, we can let them know this is the time that we will be there. And that way we're not reacting to a phone call. Our front desk staff can say they will be out there in a week or whatever that time frame is, and just put a time period on it for them. And that is all I've got. Got any questions?
No questions?
Yeah.
Again, I'd like to say that the parks and the mowing is done, looks so much better.
Thank you.
And you to be commended and your employees to be commended, it looks a lot better.
Thank you. And those mowers are really making a difference. If you go by Riverside, you can start to see that grass is starting to do this, and it's not getting as high. We got caught last week a little bit, but it's
It rained.
Where was the trail that you talked about adding?
Where's it at?
Yes, sir.
It would start just north of the Riverside Stadium. It would connect right there to go back into the nature trail, and it would start going north all the way up to the Rose Garden and pass and connect over to the Hiller's house. So you would actually have a full loop.
Right now, there's not a sidewalk when you get close to the Challenge Athletes Field.
Right, it ends there at the Rose Garden.
And so you're talking about running it,
There.
you're closing that gap.
Yes, and everything south of that going in there and having
Widen
it
it.
concreted all the way through.
Okay. That runs, that would be north of McCright. You're talking about that sidewalk that sits north, that runs along the river?
Yes,
That's like a 3 foot right now, or
Yes,
whatever, so you're
yes.
expanding it.
right.
Concrete.
Yes, sir.
No ifs, ands, and buts, no discussion. Just-
I'm always willing to discuss.
Well, I mean, financially, I suppose it's, I don't know. We can talk about it later.
Sure.
The study for Riverside Convention, did we get a copy of that? Or?
I don't think we shared that, the structural study. We'll be glad to get that to you, Emmett. Yeah, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Colby. Yeah, Tanner has promised he's going to talk 10 minutes. Yeah.
I'll let the cameras in.
The advocate asked if I could do it in 5. She promised me she'd write a great story about the fire department if I did that.
Okay, Tanner, ready, set, go. I'm kidding.
It's an internal joke among the department heads on, Tanner says he's going to speak for 5, and we calculate it's usually 15 or 20, so it's an ongoing joke with him.
You got to talk about the things you're passionate
That's
about.
exactly right. Get after it.
Very good.
And I did want to start kind of on a lighter note and be sure and clarify that none of y'all misinterpret me wearing a blue tie as that I'm in any way aligned with the police department, because that did come up at lunch today, and the police chief was quick to point out that I was not wearing a red tie. So that doesn't mean anything in particular. Is my wife had bought me a new tie, and she pointed out that I had not worn it yet. So today was the day.
That's nice.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you for being here today, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to get up and visit with you about our different departments and the programs that we're doing and present our budget to you. And I will very rapidly get into mine because I know my time is short. Really just kind of giving you, I want to give you an overview of kind of where we're at, things we're doing, and look at the financial piece of that as we move forward. We'll start off with our mission, and it's to preserve life and property with dedicated and carry service. And our vision is to be the leader in emergency service excellence. And as we move into the next slide, those are some of the ways that we try to hold our folks accountable and measure our worth in the community. It's we want to have benchmarks for our employees, goals that we're trying to achieve, and we do a lot. That only represents a portion of the different goals and measurements that we're trying to do. We do that twofold. Number one, to show the citizens what they're getting from their fire department, but number two is to show our employees how they're doing. It's hard in our environment at times to find a lot of good that comes out of some of the responses that we make. And we always turn back to our performance in our benchmarks, and we really try to focus on those in everything that we do. So we do have a lot of lofty goals. We hold ourselves to a very high standard, and we measure that. And this was a more advanced program that we started the first of this year. 2014, so we were really curious to see kind of how it goes as we move forward. Looking at our personnel, this year we'll be adding 12 folks to staff Fire Station number 6. That number is figured in that operations section of the slide you're looking at there. We'll be going to 39 personnel on each shift. We're presently at 35 at each shift, so that's the additional 4 people. Everything else has stayed the same as far as people go. Looking at our 5-year, just kind of a snapshot of our run volume. Our biggest year really in response was in 11, you know, a lot of that had to do with the drought we were having that year. We were doubling our fire volume. And last year it decreased a little bit and, from 12 and a little bit from 11. The budget we've presented represents $12.4 million. If you remember back to 2014, our budget was 14.1. With the lion's share of that money coming in to build a new fire station and also to purchase a Quint, the ladder truck, which we had started that the year before. We were able to get a better deal by paying half up front and the other half as we took possession. So those two things were in that, in our 2013 budget. It's kind of just a breakdown of how that goes. The next slide, I think, will go into a little bit better detail of how that breaks out in each one of those areas. Also kind of comparing what those numbers were from 14 to 15. And if you look at the top two, the employee payroll and the benefits, we're increasing roughly $750,000. And that's reflective of adding 12 people and the cost of doing that, bringing those people on board. And we will be doing that in this next fiscal year.
Tanner, I know council knows why we're adding the 12, but anybody watching this program may not. It's for the new Fire Station 6.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a reminder. Y'all know that, but the public may not remember it.
Looking at our supplies, we've got a slight increase there. Our maintenance cost was actually decreased. But you see the increase in IT and communications that was previously in maintenance. So some of that is just kind of moving money around from one account to the other. Fleet, we're down $358,000. And then obviously in our capital account, almost $2.2 million. So this budget is about $1.7 million less than the budget last year.
Chief?
Yes, sir.
Your maintenance budget decreased fairly, $107,000. Are you deferring some maintenance, or what is?
No, what that is that's going to be like our radio maintenance system, our CAD. Those are internal charges that everybody's kind of talked about a little bit this year in their budgets. So that represents our portion. In finance, they took and reallocated those monies into some different line items. So it just moved from maintenance over into the IT communication area.
Okay, thank you.
You and the PD were carrying all of it, and then
Yeah.
redistributed it, yeah.
And also on that personnel, that was taken into account in the tax rate last year, so it should have zero effect on the tax rate this year.
That,
It's been on one-time expenses last year, correct?
that's correct.
Okay.
And when I get it up in my presentation, I'm going to address that too as well.
Okay.
Yeah, because there was roughly $800,000 that had been allocated, and $150 of that was going to be for employees. I'm sorry, $650 and about $150 for the other line items that support the new station and maintenance and things like that.
Right.
Chief, can you quickly talk about your fleet? Why is it down, and what are you expecting this year?
Well, yeah, I've got that on a different slide here.
Oh, do you? Okay.
On our fleet this year, in this next budget, we're buying another ambulance and a training vehicle. And so that's the reason. Last year it was so much higher because we had that ladder truck in there. And this year we're not buying that ladder truck.
Where's
so
the engine coming for Station 6?
we'll be purchasing an ambulance and an engine in this current fiscal year for that station.
Part of this
So
budget?
that's the reason you don't see it in this 15.
Okay, in this current year?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
If you look at our, this is kind of an overview of some of the line items as I pulled them out. In our hazmat, some of the additional equipment. And one thing I wanted to mention there is the last couple of years, we've been pretty heavy in hazmat and technical rescue. And we really were requesting quite a bit of money in training as well as equipment. And I think a lot of times it's where do you find the value in that training and that equipment. And I can tell you just in some recent events we've had that training has been invaluable. Those guys having that skill set that they didn't have prior to that. And then also having the equipment to be able to function very quickly and very nicely on those scenes. So we're going with a decrease this year on what we've been asking, because we've gotten that level up to a training where we have now kind of a base to build from, and the same way with equipment. In technology, some of our tablets, Wi-Fi cradles, what that is every emergency vehicle now is a Wi-Fi spot, and the benefit of that is when we go out and we start any kind of medical patient care, we can take our tablets to the patient, and we can initiate all the information because we're using our vehicle as the hotspot. So we can hit the internet and be able to initiate those patient reports. It just improves our efficiency. It also allows us to do things at the patient's side with the hospital that we wouldn't be able to do if we didn't have that kind of technology. So we've been doing that for the last couple of years, just kind of in a phase-in, and this year we'll be able to complete that to where every emergency vehicle will have that type of technology. Under fire equipment, we're looking at a couple of thermal imaging cameras and a Lucas 2. A Lucas 2 is a CPR device, and we had demoed this piece of equipment. And what it does is you place it on a patient that has to have CPR. CPR, if you have to deliver that, is very labor intensive, and often a human is unable to deliver adequate CPR for very long because they get winded very quickly. And so this technology has been out there for a while, but it's a device that actually does the CPR for the person, and it delivers perfect CPR 100% of the time. So we tested this piece of equipment, and we got a return of spontaneous circulation while using that, which means we got a pulse back 40% of the time, and which was almost double what we were doing it with humans. So we're asking for one of those devices in this next fiscal year, and then we're also looking for some grant opportunities to outfit the rest of the ambulances because they are expensive. And so we think if we can get one and put it on our operations supervisor vehicle that goes to all those types of calls, we'll at least have the one device to be able to do that. Long term, our goal would be that every ambulance would have that. But we will be chasing some different grants and an opportunity to purchase that equipment going forward.
So 15,000?
Yes, about 15,000
For one.
Yeah.
for one.
So if there's anybody out there that would like to
Yeah, if you
donate
got
a
some
Lucas
extra
2
money.
to us.
We'll even put your name on it if you want us to. Thermal imaging cameras, I mentioned we have two of those. One of those will be for that new piece of equipment out at Station 6. One will be to replace one that is over 10 years of age, and we are having a hard time keeping it up in service. Rescue tools, that'll be equipment that'll go on the engine 6. That's lifting bags, that's spreaders, cutters, and rams. On the EMS side, we're adding a 6th ambulance into service, and in doing so, we have to buy some of the equipment that will go on that ambulance. That'll be a power cot, cardiac monitor, and a stair chair. Those are one-time costs. Really, just going forward, all we have to do is some basic maintenance on those. SCBA's, 2 years ago, we converted to a 45-minute bottle, or we started the conversion to a 45-minute bottle. We're now year 3 of that conversion. And then there's some air conditioning replacements. They're also $23,000. That'll be for 4 of our different stations. Capital purchases, again, we'll be buying a replacement ambulance, one that's due to be replaced, and also a training vehicle. And then adding, the biggest cost right there is just adding the personnel for that fire station number 6. This is some of the enhanced equipment I visited about. To give you a visual of what some of those things look like, you can see that Lucas 2 CPR device there on the far left-hand side. Some of the rescue tools, the LifePak 15 cardiac monitors, and then obviously the thermal imaging cameras.
Tanner, I want to talk about that Lucas too, because I'm hoping somebody's listening and will, in their heart, decide to donate a few to us. But, one of the things you explained to me when you've got a situation where you've got somebody that's in a vehicle that needs to be extracted, you can start that CPR with this piece of equipment while they're trying to get the person out.
If we can get behind them.
Yes.
We've got the ability on these CPR devices. We also have the ability I don't want to get too technical, but we have the ability to intubate patients now because of some electronic laryngoscopes that we were able to purchase a couple years ago. So our ability to deliver service where they're at has greatly enhanced, instead of us having to get them out of whatever they're in and get them in our ambulance before we can start delivering service. We're delivering everything we need to do right where the patient's at. And it depends, especially if they're trapped or there's any kind of obstacle that we're having to deal with. Station 6, this will eat up most of our year this year in moving forward with that station. We're really excited about this project and what it's going to bring not only to the city but to our organization. It's going to be a 2-story facility. It'll have an ambulance and an engine staffed out there just like all the other stations do. It'll be staffed with 5 personnel daily. It's got some hurricane wind rating, enhanced response capabilities into an area of town that we've got a little bit of a challenge today. Some of the equipment we're looking at is some advanced PPE drying equipment, and that allows us to clean that gear as it gets contaminated and to be able to dry it very quickly. Right now, we have to let them sit outside and just dry. And sometimes we can't get those back to the employee in that same day. And then also we're looking at a refill station, oxygen generating machine. And what that is we typically spend about $14,000 to $15,000 a year just for oxygen. And at times we get in a little bit of a bind for oxygen just due to some of our local vendors. And we're wanting to buy a machine where we can generate our own oxygen. And what that allows us to do is to put that at a station, and that'll help take care of the oxygen needs for all of our facilities. So that's kind of a new concept for us, and something we're pretty excited about. We think it's really got the ability to, through the budget process over the next couple of years, I think it'll pay for itself in 2 years. Those machines are about $27,000. We spend typically about $14,000 on oxygen a year. So I think it'll pay for itself very quickly.
How many SCBA refill stations will that put you at now? 2?
We have 2.
You have 2 and this will be the 3rd, or you have 1 and
Yeah,
this will
we
be-
have 2 right now, and this will be the 3rd. And plus, we also have the light and air truck that has the mobile capability.
What are the thoughts about the station, is it 5, the one between Navarro and Maine on the loop?
It needs to be moved.
What are we going to do with that facility, though, the property, the
Well,
building?
we'd try to sell it if we, I think we put
At
it
one
on the market
point.
and try to sell it. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Our problem right now is we need to find some land to possibly move to eventually. So we've kind of been keeping our eye out for some land, so.
Yeah, we'd like to be up in that Maine area, down Maine.
Main Street,
Yes, sir.
south or north of the loop?
That would be south of the loop. But everybody that's got land for sale in that area is real proud of it right now. A couple of areas that we would really like to be in, the land is very pricey. And so we're either going to have to wait till that eases off if it's going to at all, or pull on somebody's heartstrings and see if they'll cut us a deal. But right now, we're not having much luck with that, so. And then our fire prevention and public education programs, that's a big piece of what we do, is get out there with the kids. And, most recently we did the Shattered Lives program out at the high school. That was a great success. We're already in talks of doing one at the other high school this next year. So that program was really good. But as you see there, we've got several programs that we do throughout the year at different various age groups. And our fire prevention team in the fire marshal's office do a wonderful job with that. And we're really proud of everything that they do for us in those areas.
Status of the ladder truck?
It's in service.
That's what I thought. I thought I saw it up here.
Yeah, we brought it up here, and I just wasn't able to get up here in time to grab you guys and kind of steer you over that way and give you a chance to take a look at it. But yes, sir, it's in service.
Good.
The new station we're building this year, will be the third one that's hurricane rated?
Yes, sir.
The others are not.
And just to give you kind of a timeline on that, June 10th, we will be posting to go out to bids. June 18th, we'll be doing a pre-bid meeting. July 9th will be the bid opening. Our hope is to have a contract in place by July 31st and it to be in front of y'all on August the 19th.
Thank you.
You bet.
Chief, we did some changes to the billing, I recall. How's that come about? Is it too early to tell about increased revenues?
No, I've actually got some numbers there, in case that question came up. If you remember back in October, about mid-October of 13, we changed our billing company as well as our electronic patient care reporting company. And we went from an average bill, and I'm using average, of about $1,700 per call. And through this transition, we dropped it in half to about $850. And in doing so, through the first 4 months, and it takes about 60 to 90 days on a lot of those collections. So I went back to January, February, March, and April. And we're averaging about $143,000 a month in collections, which equates to about $1.7 million. Gilbert would have to give me some total direction on this, but in the years past, we've been averaging between 1.6 and 1.8. Is that a fair number, Gilbert? On those bills. So kind of what we were hoping would happen, it looks like it is happening. It could be plus or minus a little bit, and that's just that we cut the bill in half to the customer, but not at the expense of reducing our revenue.
That's correct. That's the key point.
We're budgeting a flat revenue number for ambulance fees, though, for
Yeah.
14 to 15, just
But the key point of,
still new.
I just want to make sure that,
Yeah.
that it
Yeah.
was working the way it was supposed to.
but one of the big objectives that Tanner had with this is to minimize that impact on the patient cost, but not hurt the city side out as well. And that was accomplished, I think.
Yeah, we've reduced the amount of money we're writing off, but in doing so, I think we're being very fair
You bet.
to our citizens in what we charge for our service.
Very good.
Did you get to the end? I apologize. I was visiting here and I wasn't paying attention. So this is a county department, which is kind of unique, and we do serve anywhere in the county. You respond everywhere. I know you've met with county commissioners and give them an opportunity to understand. Had you had any thoughts about giving this very same presentation at Commissioners Court?
We can,
I don't know, y'all decide, but
yeah.
it's just a thought.
And what I did was I met with them all, and I had presented a year-end report to them a little while back, and I felt like they didn't have the opportunity to go into the detail that maybe they would like to. And so and that was something I wanted to do. It wasn't something I was asked to do. And I met with every one of them individually and gave them the opportunity to talk about the things that we're doing, the changes that we've made in the county that maybe aren't as evident to them in the way that we respond. And I think those meetings went very well, and I think those commissioners were very appreciative of that time.
I think it's important that the citizens out in the county do understand that that's how that works.
Yeah, and I think the best way to describe that is our response in the county it is no different than our response in the city.
Right.
We
right.
provide the same level of service, not just because we cross an imaginary line that we go from city to county, do we decrease anything that we do in the county.
Good job. Thank you.
We are ahead of schedule a bit, but we can take a break. Would this be a good time? I mean,
It doesn't matter, we can
knowing-
finish JJ's probably got 20, 25-minute presentation.
knowing what's
So,
left.
and then we get into Gilbert's and HR.
Perhaps JJ, and then we'll break.
Yeah, that would be great.
Why don't we do that?
JJ, you ready?
I was listening to Tanner spike the football back there for a 17-minute presentation. I think he forgot to mention that his wife did buy that tie, but only after I told her that was the color he wanted. Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you our proposed 2015 Police Department budget. We'll begin with the purpose of the organization. We want Victoria to be a safe community to live, work, and visit. And our mission statement is to reduce crime and the fear of crime through outstanding police service and partnership with the community. The values, the heart and soul of how we operate, integrity, professionalism, pride in service, and respect. If you ask our officers, they should know these tenets that drive us on a daily basis and help make our decisions. What I'm going to talk about today is I'm going to give you an overview of the organization. We'll talk a little bit about staffing and then some service delivery. I'll give you some work metrics to kind of do some comparisons over prior years to try to illustrate the point about some future growth that's occurring and certainly being impacted and felt by the department. Talk about our current authorized strength right now as we talk today. 118 licensed personnel, 38 non-licensed, and currently right now the way we sit today is we have 11 vacancies in police officer positions. When I gave this presentation to you last year, there were 8. And so from that 8, it grew considerably. But now, over the past several weeks, that number has been trimmed down to 11 entry-level police officer positions that are open. We currently have 1 civilian position open. And I want to talk a little bit about our recruitment efforts because I believe that that's very good news, and so I want to kind of highlight that and kind of explain what we've done over the past several months that's helped us trim those vacancy numbers down considerably, and you know, to address those challenges that we have in recruitment wise. And part of that is it's not uncommon, even industry-wide. People face challenges when it comes to recruiting police officers. But what we did is we kind of took, an approach that there were about 4 areas where we could really see some significant improvement in. And the first was internal efficiencies, streamlining our testing process, our application process, our partnership with Human Resources Department and her team. Cheryl's team jumped on board and really assisted us in cutting the time it takes to fill out the application and go through the testing process. That was really huge. Everybody does things online, and sometimes it could be a little cumbersome. So I'm very appreciative of the fact that that teamwork worked very well in allowing those times to cut down. The other thing we did is we decided we needed to establish and invest in a recruitment officer, a full-time recruitment officer. Prior to that, we hadn't done that. We did it, collaterally based on what was going on, and by having a full-time recruiting officer devoted 100% of the time to recruiting efforts. This was a little risky because we did need the bodies and we did see the need to have the people on the street, but I almost got to the point where we couldn't afford not to. I'm happy to say that decision worked out very well in the sense of course, it was probably a lot had to do with the person that we picked to do that job, but a very passionate individual, very well known in the city, David Brager, and he took upon himself and really jumped in and gave it 150% like I knew he would. But then what he had brought to the game was that personal touch, meaning that he wasn't just happy with handing out a brochure or having them watch a video. He really followed back up with the applicants, and he was, he'd call them back up and say, I noticed that, your application isn't finished yet. Is there anything I can help you with? And that kind of thing. And over the last, I'd say, 12 final chief interviews that I've had, when I asked that question, why Victoria Police Department, I think 7 or 8 out of the 12 said David Brager. So, I mean, that personal touch, that recruitment officer, I think, lended itself very well to our success here. And then lastly, the hiring bonuses, without a doubt, attracted attention. I want to thank the city manager and city council for supporting that effort because it did allow folks to take a second look at us and sometimes a third, and ultimately, as we sit today, I think Cheryl was telling me 41 people right now in the applicant pool. I have 11 openings, and I have 16 people in backgrounds, so I almost have too many people for the vacancies now. So, and the other part I want to bring up is we now are getting selective in who we hire, you know, and that's not that we've ever lowered the standards, but now I have so many really good ones. I'm picking and choosing which ones to go to background at, and I think that speaks very well to the program itself. So that's a little bit about our recruiting efforts and where we stand with that. And I know there might be some questions or two, but if you guys want me to continue, or just, is there anything you would like to know about that particular program? I know it's received a little bit of attention lately. All right. Talk about our personnel, 156. We're broken up into 4 basic divisions: administration, patrol. Patrol also includes, because you see that number's kind of high, it also includes our telecommunications personnel, investigations, and in our support services. A little bit about some of the metrics to evaluate a police department. And these are some of the things that I wanted to convey to you in terms of workload issues. Overall calls for service, that is a call that comes into the communications center that requires some sort of attention, whether that be emergency 911, non-emergency call, administrative type of related call. Everything that comes in, it requires some work on our part. Notice in 2012, we were at 84,000. Then we went up about almost 3.5% in 2013 to 87,000. And then this year to date, we're at 42,205 compared to 37,722 in the same time period last year, representing about 11, almost 12% increase in overall calls for service coming into the center. Response time is an important metric that you should use to evaluate police departments. And right now, our response time to emergency 911 calls, you saw in 12, it was 5.49. 2013 went up a little bit to 6.26, and right now, year-to-date, 5.31. I could tell you that those are very, very good emergency response times if you were to compare that to police departments throughout the country. Talk a little bit about investigations. We don't talk about this a lot. However, I just wanted to kind of point out that growing trend continues, and this is another example. These are cases that actually come into our investigation division that are assigned, meaning that we've taken a report, there's been an offense report, they're coming in, and we're evaluating it. And in 10, you can see we had about 6,000 and cleared about 2,900. Then 11 went up to 65, which is about a 6% increase. And clearing about 2,500. Then in 12, it went up again to 73.93, about a 12% increase. And then 13, 85.06, a 15% increase. And overall, if you look at between now and 2010, there's a 37% increase in cases that are assigned to our investigations for investigators to investigate. Another arm of our investigation is crime prevention. I'm a strong believer that you need to have a very solid and strong crime prevention program to mitigate on the front end, to help educate the public on crime awareness, so to prevent them from being victims. We have a very outstanding crime prevention unit that has been recognized for many of the results and the things that they have done. I just got a call from some place in South Wales, and they wanted to use our video on our recruitment, not our recruitment video, one of our the school zone video, and so we had to give them approval to do that. So our work does get out, and it's noticed, and as you can see, the men and women that work in that unit, they're very, very busy, and these are just some of the examples of a lot of the things that they're doing on a daily basis and doing a great job at it.
Did you say Wales?
South Wales? I think it was South Wales.
Like the England?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Thought you said Wales.
Did you tell them we'll produce new commercials for a fee? They're that good?
I think I could almost get into that
If
business.
it comes to it, yeah. We're thinking alike.
Just to give you a little bit of an idea of what's going on in our sports services division, in a record specifically in 2013, 2014, citations processed 8,366, and that was up from 6,700 in 2012. Open records requests took a little bit of a dip, 460 compared to 49. Probably a couple of reporters on vacation at the Advocate. Records checks, 738. Now it's up from 710. And then warrants, 1,434 year-to-date compared to 1,200 in 2012. So a very busy area.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
you know, you're talking about that response time, and I was looking here at some stuff online real quick. You had 5.31. This particular 911, whatever, emergency, average response time is 10 minutes. Atlanta has the worst response time with 11 to 12 minutes, and Nashville comes in at a lightning speed of 9 minutes. So that's pretty amazing.
That's pretty good response
5.31.
time.
Those obviously aren't real comparable to us, I suppose. But
Larger cities, but
yeah, very good.
You would think they'd have more employees, though.
Well, true,
How
more
many?
people to deal with, so I don't, per capita is probably what you're gonna look at. It's good.
this is a pie chart just depicting the overall police department budget. And I'm going to kind of drill down into these areas in the next couple of slides. I just want to point out that our payroll overall is about 65% of the overall budget. And like I said, we're going to go into this a little bit more in depth in the next couple slides. Police operations, again, police operations is those 4 divisions that I mentioned earlier: administration, patrol, investigations, and support services. Then our table, our budget request this year at about 12.4 million. And we're going to go into, like I said, a little bit further in depth into some of these categories where you'll see increases. What I did is I pulled out specifically within police operations, proposed personnel and benefits. It's an increase of 229. We're not proposing any increase in police officers this year. That's just an increase to cover additional certification pays, payroll with existing employees.
I started to call you Tanner. That's, sorry about that. JJ. You know, last year we talked about needing to add 10 police officers over the next 5 years, and we were going to do 2 a year for the next 5 years. But with the large amount of vacancies this year, we've decided to not propose adding more. We'll see about getting the vacancies under control, but it doesn't mean that we'll back off of that number. It just means we'll increase the number over the next 5 years.
I think it's pretty safe to say that I'll be coming back next year proposing that.
Absolutely.
An increase. Our proposed M&O, we have a little bit of an increase there, not much, but some. And that's mostly in the area of educational development. We had some increases in some of our costs associated with K-9 maintenance and some of our informant contracts, those kinds of things that increased that just a little bit. And then capital improvements, we're going to talk about that on the next page. Vehicle replacement costs, no new vehicles to the fleet, just replacing two replacements and 1 additional reallocation two patrol from another location within the organization. So 3 Tahoes that will go to patrol, and then 2 desperately needed replacement detective Impalas. That tends to be where we've kind of taken some of the back seat lately, and so we do need additional detective vehicles, so we're replacing 2 of those. In-car video and computer replacement, I want to talk about that for just a second. State of Texas allows us, if we want to be considered for reporting purposes when it comes to racial profiling, they allow us an exemption. That exemption only implies if you have in-car video. That is, if you are actually videotaping every one of your traffic stops. And so with that, and from a best practice standpoint, we've had in-car video for the last several years. The current in-car video equipment that we have is end of life this year. It won't be supported after the end of this year. And as you can imagine, with technology and so having something for about 5 years, we're experiencing some pretty significant failure rates in that equipment. So it's definitely time to take a look at that. And what we try to do, though, this time is technology being the way it is, we wanted to look at opportunities to leverage existing technology and say, instead of having disparate systems when it comes to in-car video and computers within the cars, there's technology out there that'll combine the two to where we can run our in-car video through that same system. And so we're looking at single source solutions to do that. And right now we're still in discussion with a couple of vendors for that. But we estimate that it's probably going to be in the neighborhood of about 340. That's listed as 372, but it's going to come in cheaper than that. That's a necessary piece of equipment that we're going to have to do. I wouldn't recommend deferring that. So that's where that is. Like I said, it's going to come in cheaper than the 372. Automated ticket writers, it's something we probably have needed for several years. And this just allows our officers to more efficiently and quickly do the citation out in the field, so they're quicker to get back into service, answer calls for service, proactive enforcement. It takes us, depending on how quick of a writer you are, it could take you anywhere between 10, 15 minutes to write a citation, sometimes even longer if you have to go through and have a longer discussion with the violator. So these will really speed that process up. So we're asking for those. And we have 9 replacement computers. Last year, I think we had about 15 or 16. That's a typical number right about there. And then each year, we kind of adopted a practice of replacing some of our SWAT body armor. It's pricey, and it's usually a 5-year life cycle. And we've been doing every year. We're doing about 5 or 6 each time, so we don't have to take a big hit. Software maintenance. We do see some increases with the software maintenance. OSSI, it's our CAD. That's annual maintenance, $120,000. I'm going to skip the radio system for just a second because that one I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But the rest of the stuff is fairly normal maintenance. Our uninterrupted power source maintenance for our radio system, our Never Fail software. Police Academy 1 is that program that we purchased using asset forfeiture drug seized money, which manages our policy and procedure, both distribution, testing, and documentation for best practices. And I always mess this up, but Imprivata is the two-factor single solution that allows us to move that. And we did that, last year, but now the maintenance piece will be coming on in this next proposed budget year. That radio system upgrade program, $78,000 was the police department's portion of it. And it says city 410, but that's actually, it should say overall 410. Right now, our radio, not our computer, but our radio software maintenance is about $225 a year that we pay every year. And we split that between departments within the city and then also users that come onto the system like the county. So they pay about half of that. What we're at right now is, we're in a situation where we're operating on, I think 7.7. The actual upgrade would take us to, right now Motorola is at 7.14. So we're considerably behind in terms of software upgrade, and they know that. So we've been in discussion with them. They said if we wanted to take a one-time approach to this to get fully caught up, it would cost us $1.2 million, and that gets us up to 7.14. They did have a program whereby if we increase our annual maintenance program from the 225 to 410, we will automatically get upgraded every 2 years. So that's what's being presented as a more efficient way of approaching that particular issue. We like to stay a couple behind anyway with a brand new upgrade that comes out. So we would upgrade to about 7.11 and then seeing how 714 goes, and then we'll pick up after that. So that's what this represents. And then, like I said, the police department's portion of that would be about $78,000. Jumping over into police communications, pie chart just depicting what we show there. And again, I'll just point out that this particular portion of the budget, payroll costs about 89% of the overall budget goes to people. And you have your table graph. We are seeing a little bit of a decrease this year in our proposed budget. 2015 is down from 2014. Our budget for personnel went from 115.14, it went down about $89,000. Even though we didn't change staffing from last year, but we did change the program that we use to hire incoming folks in, and we adopted this program where we hire call takers in lieu of actual dispatchers. And by doing that, we brought them in at a lower rate, gives us more of an opportunity to train them and prepare them for the rigors of communications, because it is a big jump for some folks. So by doing that, we saw a decrease in the overall budget. And there, the $36,000 was specifically attributable to that. A decrease in M&O, and then a decrease in capital. And this budget, like I said, it was fairly flat. And on a go-forward basis, I don't project any major increases or projected increases in this area. We do need to take a look at, down the road, relocating that facility. It's probably a well-deserved move that we need to contemplate, but at this point in time, this budget is consistent, and it will support us into next year. Questions?
You said relocate the police station?
Well, we need to do that too, sir.
Where would you relocate that facility?
Well, off the top of my head, I would tell you that from an efficiency standpoint, we probably should be more located somewhere centralized to the city. Right now, deploying my resources on the far south side to the far north side is not as efficient as it could be. So I would say that that's one thing we probably need to take a look at, is where we would actually deploy. And if we weren't going to deploy the entire organization out of the central part of the city, certainly having a presence in the north part of town would be something I would greatly encourage that we take a hard look at.
Can you explain that radio system software to me a little bit more?
Sure. We currently pay about $225,000. Gilbert, you can correct me if I'm wrong, if I misstate the exact amount, annually to Motorola to maintain our software for the radio system. Okay. This proposal would increase that from the 220 to the 410. Now, from the 410, we would be on the hook to pay about 205, 210 of that. We would have to push the rest of that increase off to the other users, typically the county and whoever else uses it. So we would really, in essence, be looking at increasing from 220 to 410, and that would automatically take us into these upgrades that we desperately do need, because we're way behind right now. And so it's one of those things where Motorola says, if you want to get into this program, that's fine. You raise it to 410. Every 2 years, we'll upgrade you to whatever it is you want to go to. Right now, 7.14, but we would probably take like 711. So it's just a way to try to mitigate that now, or $1.2 million to get to the current upgrade that they have. And it's one of those things it's a support issue, obviously. Motorola doesn't want you to get too far behind, because then there's antivirus issues that they really, when they talk to us, they're very cautious in telling us that don't slip too far behind on this.
Let me show you my ignorance. What exactly does the software do for the radio?
It allows it to work. It's a really simplistic thing, but it really, and I'm not the most technical person to do it. I could even let James probably talk about it if you want to, but it's a system that allows our radio system to operate on the platform that it's working on. You want to take a harder stab at it? That's good for you. Don't worry about it.
That's what he said. Basically, it's traditionally, like anything else, a radio system has transitioned away from hardware-based, where a lot of it is now software-based. So this is the software that actually runs the communications that then communicates the radio system to all the radios out there. So in 911 dispatch, they've got 2 or 3 server racks just full of servers. And that's actually the operating system that actually then does the communications and talks to to the remote sites, to the towers, and feeds those communications across.
It's just voice? Just voice?
Well, it's voice over, yes, that is just voice, but it's over, of course, their frequency, licensed frequency.
Does it record the calls? And it allows calls between individuals and multiple people and all that kind of stuff?
Yes.
To us, I'll go get a couple of radios, and we
Couple
talk.
walkie-talkies, yeah.
But you have certain standards you need to meet
Maybe
too, with
radio.
security and,
Has to be P25 compliant federal regulations that tell you, your radios have to be able to operate this way. They have to have interoperating capability, and so we have compliance issues related to that. And so in a company like Motorola knows that, that's their business, and so they'll support you, but at a very steep cost annually to keep that going.
So when you say it's shared with the county, is this for sheriff's department?
Yes.
So there's,
Anybody that's on the system, and they're not just the only ones, but anybody that operates on the system that we have a signed agreement with that says we want to use that. I think the original purchase cost was before me, but it was in the neighborhood of $6-point-something million when we first purchased it, the radio system itself. So, yeah, but we will pass that cost off through an agreement that we have with the users. They would see an increase in their costs as well.
when does your hardware end of life based on their software upgrades?
Well, that's one of the things that Motorola has told us, that the longer we wait, they didn't give us an exact thing. If we continue to wait, there will be issues with switches and those types of hardware, but minimal, but each year you wait, that hardware piece will continue to grow up in terms of just the end user, the actual device itself.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Questions for JJ?
That-
Thank you, JJ.
thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, let's take a break. Do we need 10 minutes? No one 10 minutes? That's a long break for us.
Okay.
No, we can do 10.
There's,
I'm gonna start my
snacks
clock.
over there, and there's some photos in that one. Dr. Pepper.
Sounds good.
It's hard.